So, Dad, you used both Windows 8, the Consumer Preview Edition, and OS X Lion for the first time this week. Right here, right there in that chair on this computer here. You used them each for about a half hour. You explored about as much as you could explore from each one of the desktops. I'm curious to know which one felt easier for you.
When I was working on the computer here with both of them, I'd have to vote for that iOS 10. I guess I like seeing things I was familiar with, and again, I'm not sure that was by design or if that's just the way Mac has it set up. But it was nice seeing things that were familiar, even though they were new to me. It was a whole new environment working on the screen. I could pick out, well, this is going to do this is going to do that, this is going to do this. Now, to get in and use the actual programs, that would be my next step of exploration in both. The Windows 8 just seemed a little more cumbersome to work with for me. Again, I wasn't familiar with it, and I don't want to be unfair, but at the same time, someone going into a store and without someone there basically putting their hand on top of their hand as they move a mouse around, they're going to have a tough time finding out, well, this is down in this corner, and this is over in this corner, and this is up in that corner. The navigation part of it's probably for me, the weakest thing. Once I learned how I could move things around and start putting it in my own hierarchy, and once I would get used to that, again, I might change my mind. But I'm assuming that if I put Excel on there, for example, and picked Excel, it's going to pull up the same Excel I work with now, or Windows 7 Excel, unless they're changing that. And I don't know, because I really haven't seen that yet. I know I read some things where they've made some additions and changes to it. I'm not quite sure what those are. But again, that's something, and we talked about it the other day, or I'm not sure if Chris did or I did, but once you get used to something, if you're able to do the things you want to do with what you got, why would you want anything else other than have the new experience? I've always liked to have the newest things. I'm kind of a toy person. I like the new things. I like to work with them and try and figure them out.
So, did you feel, in working completely through Windows 8, let's look beyond the problem that we had in trying to get you between Metro and Aero, which was very intentional. You're absolutely the average case. Don't feel bad about it, because I've been writing Microsoft on making that change before it finally ships. I don't think they're going to listen. Did you find yourself more frustrated or confused in one operating system over the other?
Yeah, and that's why I said 10, because I was more frustrated working with the Windows, and again, because I was familiar with some of the things I saw on the Mac, I felt more comfortable, and I didn't feel they were challenging me. When I was on the Windows 8, I felt challenged. I felt like, oh no, they're throwing something new at me. Even though inside those boxes were things I was familiar with, the boxes themselves I was not. So I'd have to get in and see what was inside that box. And I understand what they're probably trying to show the Windows, because that's what it's called, Windows. So maybe they ought to look at the icons again.
So let's take a sidestep here. You played with Windows 8 on the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
You're familiar with Windows. This is pretty much what you've used for most of your computing life, if not DOS, all the way up.
All of it, yeah.
You used Metro, and that's those little tiles, the boxes that you're talking about, the icons. You used it on the desktop with a keyboard and a mouse, but you also used it
at
in
the
Microsoft
store. Yeah, I did.
With a tablet PC, or whatever they're going to call them.
Yeah.
And you had a completely different experience with that. But hang on, I'm getting to the question.
Okay.
When I used it, it was very smooth. It was very nice. It was very clean. Some issues to be worked out, but the Metro interface of Windows 8 on a tablet or a touch PC was completely different than the experience on the desktop. But when I was holding it, I couldn't help but think that they had iPad envy. In using for the brief time that you did, granted you've had more time with the iPad, but in using Metro or Windows 8 on that touch experience, how would that compare to your experiences with iOS or the operating system on the iPad?
This is the first time I hear these questions, guys, so I'm not... I don't know what I'm going to say until I say it, but I say what I believe. When I worked with the Windows 8 on the tablet, I felt very comfortable with that, and maybe the iPad set me up to feel comfortable doing that, or maybe, like Chris kind of suggested, maybe they're trying to emulate what Apple's done to get those users that like the swipe. But again, on a tablet, the experience I had was a lot different on the tablet than it was on the desktop, because I was using my fingers and my hands on the tablet, which it is designed for, and I was using a mouse trying to do the same thing that I did on the tablet I was trying to do on a screen. And they were just, for me, it was just a different experience. I didn't like it there, but I kind of thought, well, yeah, I could kind of work with this and slide this around, and it was kind of a nice to work with.
So would you put them on an even keel, like in terms of the
just
iPad
working with it,
or Windows 8, specifically touch?
Yeah, just the touch part of it. I'd say right now they'd be pretty equal. Now I'd have to. I play games too, so I'd have to try some games on it to see how they look, because I did have a small tablet downstairs, and I kind of liked the way it looked. The functionality wasn't as good as the iBook, but the look of the characters, etc., I thought were a little nicer on what I was working with.
And that could be contingent on the application that was running or what they were showing.
Right, and what they're able to show. Because now, not only if Microsoft's trying to emulate Apple with the iPad, they're already a step behind, in my opinion, based on what I've heard just here the other day with the new iPad 3 HD. Or whatever they're going to call it.
It's got higher resolution.
But yeah, so now that's going to be better. In fact, if I did some further reading on the new iPad, it's going to have a better quality than a lot of the TVs we watch. That's pretty amazing when you think. I watched a basketball game today, and the quality and the appearance of everything in HD is pretty phenomenal. So my guess is when the new iPad gets here, it's going to be pretty phenomenally graphically. Now, I think all the other features are pretty much the same. Yeah, I know they got a better camera and this and that, but I'm not sure I'd want to carry a big thing to take a picture.
So let me ask you this then. The iPad, the base iPad is $500. It's a pretty good price. Would you buy an iPad at $500 or a Windows 8 PC at $500 if they are that low? Because they may very well be more expensive than iPads.
Okay, so ignoring everything else and just based on price?
Right.
Well, just based on price, I would probably try the Microsoft or the Windows 8 tablet, because I know by the time they get the applications, I could probably get an Excel. I'm thinking what I'd use it for. I could get an Excel worksheet, which I already know. And I get a Word application, I already know.
Okay, so what if the PC was $800 and the iPad was $500? What would you go with? Would you still go with
the
PC?
Tablet?
Yeah, the tablet PC.
Well, I would probably stay with the iPad just because of the price point.
So if
I already know what the iPad can do.
Right. So if Microsoft, in conjunction with its partners, does not deliver Windows 8 in a touch experience at the $500 price point, base level, in terms of the features that you would get with that particular computer, you would go with the lower price option.
I would, but there's a lot of people that are price conscious, so they're going to buy what they can afford. I've always had the belief that in this world, and I hate to say it this way, but you get what you pay for sometimes. And so price point, though important, it shouldn't be the top important thing. You need to look beyond that. My guess is if a person like me is very familiar with Windows, and if the price was close, they're going to lean towards Windows just because they know the name Windows. And if they're used to Mac and working in the Mac environment, they're going to lean that way as long as it's within $100 because
Yes, but
that's what they know.
Yeah, but you say that, but you've never used a Mac before.
No.
But iOS, the iPad operating system, the iPhone operating system was intuitive to you.
Yeah, it was easier to work with
Right.
on the screen, yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Beyond Excel, how much computing do you do on the quote-unquote computer, the PC, versus your iPad or iPhone? How much time do you spend at your computer, not in Excel, working, playing, whatever? Is it
My computer is more just using the numbers and the PDF or Adobe and Word documents. I don't play any games on that. I used to use a flight simulator, but I've gone to the iPad because I use the iPad now for my surfing and that kind of surfing, gaming.
Why?
Convenience. I can be in front of the TV and
But you
reach
can do
over
that
and
with a
grab
laptop.
it. Yeah,
I'm
but the
playing devil's
laptop
advocate.
itself, I understand, but the laptop's still a little more cumbersome than the iPad. I mean, it's still pretty large. It's heavier. My guess is the look, what you see is going to be pretty much the same, but I think it's just a lot more convenient to hold it in your hand. I can hold it with one hand, and my arm won't get tired, and I can move. And I'm just a one-finger typer, so I can move things a lot easier on an iPad.
All right. So will you get Windows 8?
I'm not sure. I stayed away from Vista, and to be honest, I wouldn't have Windows 7 had XP still been available. And again, some of this may be my age. I just maybe I don't like change that much, but I've always changed, so I'm not locked into something.
What you played with the other day, the consumer preview, that's not something you'd want to buy?
Not based on what I saw, no, because there was nothing there that tripped my trigger.
So let me ask you this then: would you be willing to buy OS 10, not a Mac, the computer, the operating system? Would you be willing to buy that based on your experience?
Yeah, if I was making a decision simply based on what I said here the other day and did 2 different days
On a desktop with a keyboard and a mouse,
I would have went with the Mac because it just seemed easier to work with for me. Now, again, you got to get in there and learn and see what you can do and what you can't do. So.
Anything else you want to say on the topic?
No, I'll probably see you all Monday, but I really enjoy this, and you guys are a great group, and I can't tell you how much I've learned just reading what you guys post, and you have good sense of humor, and I like reading all the business type things. So thank you.